A delicious cheddar broccoli soup is on the menu coming up right now on Cooking with Chef Bryan. Welcome everybody to Cooking with Chef Bryan. Making a good soup isn't difficult if you have the basics of how they come together. I think soup is one of the oldest culinary creations in existence because think about it, all you needed was water and something to go into it and you would have a soup. And so I'm pretty sure our ancestors many millennia ago were making soups. So we're going to continue that tradition today with a delicious cheddar broccoli soup. This is a favorite when you go out to a restaurant. I think everybody loves cheddar broccoli. We're going to start off by just dicing up some onions now. There are many clever ways to dice up onions, and I know I've taught many a knife skill class on how to do it, but the bottom line is get your onion chopped up. It's a very easy thing to do. What I do is just slice them up, and then I just run the knife over it and just slice them into some smaller slices. I'm not worrying about a culinary competition to make sure those little pieces are exactly 1/8 of an inch cubed. I just want some chopped up onion. That's all I want. So let's get our pan heated up here because we're going to saute this onion to create a soup base, that wonderful flavor and aroma of a soup. And so when you create soups, think of it as almost a sphere. And so you have this flavor profile that when it gets onto your tongue, it's going to develop and bloom and blossom, have some depth to it, and then just finish off delicious so that every bite is amazing. And that's a soup to me. So into the pan, we need to add something to saute the onions into it. I'm going to add some olive oil to it. Later on, we're going to create a roux in the pan as well. And so it's a very simple and old practice. And I have to laugh, when I was working in the restaurant industry, I would make roux by the gallon. I mean, literally, we would put in 4 or 5 pounds of butter and, equal amounts of flour into there, combine them together. That would then go into a big container that would go into a walk-in, the refrigerator. And that's how we would thicken up things that needed to be thickened. We'd just take a spoonful of the roux, plop it into whatever needed to be thickened, and it would thicken that up. When you have flour and fats that have combined together, you don't have to mix them into a cold liquid. They actually will thicken things nice and hot. And so that's the beauty of working with roux. You don't have to whisk them into something that's cold. Like if it were hot soups and that, you would need to use a slurry or something like that, which is water and flour or cornstarch. I'm going to add some garlic into there. You can certainly mince up some fresh garlic if you want to. I just prefer to use it in a jar. It's really easy to do. And now all I'm going to do is begin to saute this until it becomes very fragrant. Now, garlic, when you're sauteing garlic, you don't want to basically burn it. And I know that's a little over exaggerated, but if you saute garlic for an extended period of time, it chars. And there's really no going back from that. And so you have to be careful with garlic. Once it begins to become very fragrant, that's the stage that you want to continue adding things into it, because garlic will burn, and once it's burned, you just have to start over. You can't really do much with it. So now that we have that in there, it's becoming very fragrant. Now there was a reason why I added olive oil first, and now I'm going to add butter to it. When you combine oils such as olive oil or vegetable oils with butter, the butter won't burn as fast. And so that's a great trick if you're needing to saute in butter. In the kitchen, like in a restaurant, generally we would always use a clarified butter if we needed to do that, because the milk solids burn very easily in butter, and by adding in a little oil to it, it slows that process down. So if you want to saute with butter, add a little bit of oil to it as well to help that not burn in the pan. That was a long explanation. That just took a long time to get out. But anyway, I hope you got the gist of that. So now I'm going to just bring this all together. I'm going to get that butter nice and melted, and then we're going to create a roux. Now this is something that you hear all the time in cooking. A roux, add a roux to it, create a roux. What exactly is a roux? A roux is a thickening agent, and what it is equal parts of fat. It could be oils, it can be butter, it can be lard, any type of fat, and flour. So once you mix those together, that is a roux. And a lot of times they're created right in the pan itself, which we're going to do now. So I have the butter and the fat in there, the oil that has mixed together. It's all melted, combined. Now I'm going to add equal portions of flour to it. So I have just about 5 or 6 tablespoons of fat in there. So I'm going to add that equivalent amount of flour. And now we're going to just mix that around in there and combine it. There are 3 stages of a roux: a light, a medium, and a dark colored roux. Depending on what you're making, they each have a place in the kitchen. We want a lighter color roux because we don't want a real big flavor coming from the roux. We want it in the soup itself. So I'll let this keep cooking for just a minute. When we come back, we're going to continue on with the broccoli cheddar soup. Oh, it's going to be a favorite of yours. Don't go away.
As summer comes into full swing, it's time to fire up the grill and treat your family to a special outdoor meal featuring everyone's favorite Klondike brand potatoes. Enjoy preparing one of our many chef-inspired recipes from the web, or create your own backyard culinary masterpiece using varieties from the full line of Klondike potatoes. Visit KlondikeBrands.com today for hundreds of recipe ideas and make your summers sizzle with Klondike Brands.
Welcome back, everybody, to Cooking with Chef Bryan. We're working on a delicious cheddar broccoli soup, and we've been talking about roux. Roux are a thickening agent, which are equal parts of fat and flour. That's how you create a roux. And I've created one right in the pan. This is a beautiful golden roux here. And like I was telling you earlier, there are actually 3 stages of a roux that you can use. So you can do a nice golden or a light color like this. You can take it to a medium colored roux, or you can take it to a dark colored roux. And each one has a place in the kitchen because each one has a different flavor. The darker the roux, the nuttier and more in depth the flavor is. So if you're working a lot with beef stocks and things that have beef in them, darker roux are going to lend themselves beautifully to that. So that's kind of an idea about roux as a thickening agent. I have onions and garlic in here that we sauteed earlier, and so I've turned off the pan now, and we're going to work on the broccoli. Now I buy broccoli, I just get it at, like Costco or Sam's Club, wherever you're going, or at the grocery store, and so I generally buy it in bulk. But a lot of time when it comes in bulk, it's large pieces like this, and you do need to cut these into some smaller pieces so that they're a little more bite-size friendly, so that they're a little bit easier when you dish it up with a spoon like you would a soup. So when you get this off, I do like doing it this way because it's just a little quicker. You could buy the broccoli stalks if you want to. If I do that, what I actually do is I'll take the crown. This is the crown, just the flour portion of it, off of the stalk, cut them into some bite-sized pieces. Then I take a vegetable peeler and I'll peel the stalk of the broccoli itself and chop that up and use it in the soups as well, because the stalk of the broccoli is edible and it's actually really delicious. If you've never tried it, you need to try it because it really is delicious. I remember once I did a shredded broccoli stalk salad that was really good. Add some, toasted pumpkin seeds in there, some cranberries or craisins, whatever you have for sweetness, a little bit of onion, and it was really delicious. So remember that. Don't throw the stalks away when you buy the broccoli in the store. You can actually peel it, slice it up, and eat those as well. So these pieces look pretty good. So let's just add these into our pan here. And I want to just saute these together with the butter and all of those flavors in there because it really lends itself well to it. And then we'll start to add in the stock and all of the other liquids into it. Now, all of these little pieces of the broccoli on here, I want in the soup. So don't throw them away, put them in the soup. They're gonna be delicious. So let's just put that into there. And I wanted to point out, I have some of you that actually send me a message on social media and ask why I have a towel under my cutting board. The towel is actually damp, and what it does is prevents my cutting board from moving around while I'm using it. So if you have a cutting board that has a tendency to move around on you on the cutting surface, get a dish towel, get it nice and wet, put it underneath, and that will prevent it from moving around. All right, so this is now coming together nicely here. It's looking beautiful. I'm just going to toss this so it's all together just like that. Looking delicious. And another thing, I want to go back to the roux. When you create up that roux, flours, when you use them to thicken up something, creates a creamy texture. So it has kind of this creamy, like chowders and cream soups. Those are generally thickened with flour because it will thicken things in a creamy texture. This is just milk I'm going to add into this. We're going to add in some chicken stock, which will also be the base of this here in just a minute. But anyway, back to the roux. When you're doing that, it will thicken things up nice and creamy, and so that's kind of a nice thing. If you're gluten intolerant, you can use cornstarch. Cornstarch will thicken up clear, so you'll have a clear broth on here if you're using water or chicken stock. Milk obviously is not going to be clear. So I'm going to get this all stirred together. I'm just stirring in the flour, the roux right now, so it combines in with that milk and starts into there. Get that all stirred together. We're going to get some chicken stock here in just a minute and add it into it. I'm doing the soup in a large pan like this so you can see it better at home. You could absolutely do this on a pot in the stove, on the stove, and it might be a little bit easier for you that way. So let's let those come together. Let's add a little bit more milk onto there. And then we're going to add some cheese into here. But I do have a little secret weapon when it comes to adding flavor into this type of a soup, and it's a classical cheese sauce. But what we're going to do at this point, let me make sure all that roux is nice and into there, is add in some cheese to create this nice cheesy, creamy effect into there. We'll add in the chicken stock, and then I have another ingredient that we're going to add into there that is going to really make this pop. I'll show you what it is when we come right back.
It's no secret, frozen rolls are fresher than bakery rolls. You see, bakery rolls are made in commercial bakeries. Then they sit all day in stores. Some even contain preservatives because rolls begin to stale immediately. By the time you eat your roll, it could already be days old. Rhodes Bake and Serve is found in your grocer's freezer. Simply take Rhodes frozen roll dough home and let it thaw and rise in a pan. Bake Rhodes rolls in your own oven. Rhodes Bake and Serve, hot and fresh, right out of your oven.
Welcome back, everybody. We're working on a delicious cheddar broccoli soup that, so good. I've already added in the chicken stock, the milk. We created a roux earlier and talked much about a roux, so I hope that helped you at home. I've brought this up to a boil already. It's nice and thick now and creamy and is perfect, and so now we're going to turn it into the cheddar portion of it. Now, there is one secret ingredient that I was telling you about earlier, and it is mustard. So mustard, just a little bit of mustard in there is going to add a lot of flavor, and so you don't want people when they taste it to go, oh, that's got mustard in it. You just want people to, when they taste it, go, oh, that's got a nice little flavor. So a couple of tablespoons of mustard are going to go into there. That's really going to help bring those flavors together, because now we're going to turn it into a cheese sauce. If you even wanted, you could add a couple of dashes of Worcestershire sauce to it, and that would really enhance the depth also. So a little bit of mustard in there, going to mix that around so it's all combined. This is just on a low temperature at this point, so it's going to simmer up nicely. And I'm going to shred up some cheddar cheese, and so you can use regular, mild, medium, sharp cheddar. I always like to use a sharp cheddar cheese when I make soups like this, because I think that the soup itself kind of mellows the flavor of that cheddar, and so by using a nice sharp cheddar cheese, it adds that much more flavor to it. Remember, I told you earlier that you've got to think about a round, like this round sphere of flavor when you talk about soups or food in that regard. So, you know, you hear about wine tastings and how wine tastes differently on your tongue at this point and at this point, and etc. It's the same thing with foods. You want to create these flavor patterns so that they create a wonderful flavor on your palate. So that's what we're doing here by adding in the mustard. So here's the cheese now that I've grated up. That's going to go into it. And it is a sharp cheddar. Like I said, I think that otherwise the soup will kind of mellow too much out the flavor if it's a mild or medium cheddar. So I like the sharp cheddar, but you can certainly use whatever you like. And any kind of cheese would work in this. Even mozzarella would work beautifully in this if you wanted a nice stringy type of cheese in there. So any kind of cheese will work in that. So now that's going to melt in there beautifully. I can see it's already beginning to melt in there nicely. And I want to salt and pepper it. Now I've tasted it already because the chicken stock has salt in it. So be really careful. Always taste it to salt and pepper. That's really important. So I like to use a seasoned salt whenever I do it because it has many other flavors in there like celery and onion and garlic and all those kind of wonderful flavors. And I'm going to use some black pepper in there. Now a lot of people may have some type of an adverse opinion about using black pepper because they say, well, it just now looks like it has little dirt specks in there. That doesn't bother me because I know it is black pepper, but if it does bother you, you can use white pepper. And so white pepper to me has a whole different flavor spectrum than black pepper does. And so it's really up to you however you want to flavor the soup on this. At this point, it's just you need to taste it and then adjust salt and pepper. That's really important. So I hope you can see this now, how it's a beautiful yellow color. The broccoli now is al dente. I don't like to take it to where the broccoli is so mushy that it really loses its texture. I like to have a little bit of a texture in the broccoli itself, about al dente on there. It smells amazing. Let's give it one more taste here for salt and pepper with my clean spoon. And the mustard makes all the difference in the world. I used a spicy brown mustard. You could use a regular yellow mustard if you want to, but it just creates and finishes off that delicious flavor sphere. When we come back, we're going to finish it all up, a delicious broccoli cheddar soup. Are you looking for some delicious side dishes for dinner? Well, why not try Green Giant Fresh Minute Mashes? They're simple, they come in 3 different flavors for your dinner, and all you have to do is put them in the microwave, 7 minutes, pop them out, smash them in the bag, and serve them. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Welcome back, everybody, to Cooking with Chef Bryan. We're finishing off this amazing broccoli cheddar soup. Cheddar broccoli soup. Anyway, it's an amazing soup, however you want to look at it. And so all the cheese has melted off in there. It's nice and creamy now. There's just that little hint of mustard to where people are going to go, oh, what a great idea to put in there. And people, when they taste it and go, wow, you're the most amazing cook in the world. And you'll go, I know, I know. All right, so I'm going to add this into here. A little cheddar broccoli soup in there. If you wanted to, you could put some shredded cheese on top of it. For me, it's got plenty of cheese in it, but for garnish, you could put a little shredded cheese on there. And then I'm going to have some fun. I love these crackers, Ritz crackers. I mean, I'll tell you what they are, but it's just one of those fun crackers I remember from my childhood that were so delicious and just perfect with this soup. You could serve it with a beautiful Rhodes roll right on the side. I love the Rhodes bacon serve rolls because the warm and serve especially because they're already done. All you have to do is just take them and warm them up in the oven. And the other rolls, you just thaw them out, let them rise and bake them off. It doesn't get any easier than that. And people always tease me like, oh, why don't you make your own rolls? Well, I could, but why would I want to do that? Because it's already done for me. And they're just as good as anything I would make. So here's a delicious idea for a cheddar broccoli soup that anybody can make at home. Now you can head on over to cookingwithchefbryan.com. Grab the recipe, and there are many, many recipes on there as well. So if it's not the cheddar broccoli soup that you're looking for, there are many others on there that you can find. We talked a lot about roux today, so I hope that helps you there at home and creates an idea in your head how to thicken things in the kitchen. So a delicious soup. Can't wait for you all to try it. I know I'm going to dig into it and enjoy it. You can find me on most social media platforms. I know there are a few new ones out there that I'm not on. I can't keep them all straight, but I do pay closest attention to Instagram. I'll see you all later next time. Enjoy that cheddar broccoli soup. You can find all of these complete recipes on my website, cookingwithchefbryan.com.